wow, even though I knew what we were going to talk about, I'm a little caught off guard. I don't know. We all know, as a kids, especially girls, when our parents read us stories, what actual princess is. Nice, sweet, beautiful girl, always dressed up, super clean, in nice colors, bows, hair. And I think that's a stereotype that I don't think it applies anymore. As we all know, Western influence is everywhere. So, these stories and fairy tales also made it to Serbia as well, like to the other parts of the world. So, cartoons, TV, stories that you could get. Of course, they were all translated, but you could see actually princess in all of those stories. Those that came from Serbia, I don't think they had actually that many. They're more about life and, So all of these things that I remember, all of these Disney cartoons and, Cinderellas and all of those stories come from here. I mean, here, you know what I mean. US or is it Britain or around. It's hard to be real in this world when you're under the influence of media. So, unfortunately, we know that there is a huge media manipulation wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're North or South Pole or in Zimbabwe. If you have these conditions, ability to watch TV, you pretty much are forced without even knowing that to, watch what is there on the TV. Maybe you get to pick and choose, but from 5 options, they're probably all not as realistic, or maybe they are partially or a little bit. So the idea of princess as well. When you asked me that question first, the first thing that came to my mind was, what is the next marketing plan that's gonna bring people the most money? And that makes me sad, because that was all made for that reason. So it's hard, because you're like facing the wind and you're part of it. You cannot extract yourself from this planet. I think should be more realistic. From the perspective, not every human being is physically beautiful, and that sounds awful what I just said, but what I'm saying also, it's a relative word. So what is beautiful to me doesn't necessarily mean it's beautiful to you. If I like this person or that person, you don't like them for some reason. So that's why I don't like that it's too much. There's too much boost into the spectrum of beauty. They make them so perfect that they're not even real anymore. So you have so many beautiful girls, because there are many beautiful. I look beautiful from different side. I look the girl's energy, her eyes, voice, movement, non-verbal communication, verbal communication, energy, everything. I look when we talk about beauty. So there are so many girls that maybe don't have straight nose, but they're so beautiful. Even that nose makes them beautiful just because it makes them unique and adds to their character and to their energy and to their being, who they are, and the best. So based on what we just talked, it seems that I already reinvented the idea of princess. And it's not on a TV, but in today's world, and when I meet people around, seems that it's already present there more and more nowadays. So where princesses are actually self-sufficient and gentle human beings that are not waiting anymore for Prince and the White Horse to pick them up. So I think it's already, this idea was already reinvented. I'm not going to say abolished because, you know, you can't forget or delete those previous stories that they came in fairy tales. So they're always going to be here. There is history there, and I think we're a whole another chapter of that history. I think huge part plays genetics, and also, you know, nature versus nurture, and how we are raised, and, you know, our upbringing and parents. So I mentioned that I see my parents on different sides of the spectrum. You know, as much as my mom had very positive influence in trying to be strict and, you know, do the right thing, and then father, who was an alcoholic, was doing everything the opposite. So that created a whole hostile, negative environment that actually led to the path of coping mechanisms and seeking the, you know, truth for survival, if I can call it like that. So in those times, there was no space for princess. There was no space for being gentle, for being loved, for being told you're beautiful. There was no space for positive energy, and as a matter of fact, I was really insulted by my father once, and I think I was 18 or something like that. I was standing in front of the mirror. I was looking if my clothes was okay, if my belt was okay, and he was passing by, and he said, "What, you're staying in front of that mirror? You think that you're gonna be any beautiful? Do you think that you're gonna be any pretty just because you're standing in front of it? Do you think that, you know?" That was huge hit. It was huge. And I was in disbelief and shock to myself, because, you know, as my sister came along, he was making huge difference between us. So I was the one who was, you know, mentally abused and yelled at all times for no reason, called various names of all possible animals that can exist on this planet, hit in the back of my head, you know. And then my sister, who was spoiled, that even doesn't get close to the, maybe goes into negative aspect of this, you know, description of princess. So, you know, cutting the little sandwich in a little squares and bringing her breakfast until she was 10, 11 years old, while other kids were eating the whole sandwich, you know, babying her, driving her everywhere, following her. It was insane and sick. So during that time, as many other people realized, I had to grow up overnight. So I didn't have even time to live my childhood the way a child should and the way maybe I wanted to. So there was no space for being princess, and which later on reflected my whole life until today, and my relationships with people and intimate relationships and so on. So I had to really work hard all these years to actually get those negative roots out. I am grateful to the fact that I never ever hated my sister. So usually from those kind of families and people that I've met who were in those situations, usually the sibling that was like evil stepsister ugly stepsister or Cinderella, or was hateful towards the another sibling. In my case, it was so clear to me that it's not my sister's fault. It wasn't my sister's fault. And then later on, she admitted to me a few years ago that she feels awful because of that. And she feels so hurt that dad has done something like that. And it wasn't like asking me for forgiveness, but it was kind of leading towards that direction. So I'm really grateful for that I still have my sister the way I should, and that we are behaving towards each other the way we should, regardless of the heavy circumstances that they were around. But in that, as I was growing up and seeing all of that and experiencing as a child, that looked like a princess, yes. And actually, word princess, I'm just remembering, was mentioned many times as an criticism towards my dad for spoiling too much my sister. So that was negative connotation of princess. I could say positive because all I get out of it, if we focus, for example, on Cinderella, there's always fight between bad and evil, and how to get to the good side, how to grow into a nice person, that it's not mean, two-faced, gentle, that it's humble, that it's giving, that it's generous. And overall, I remember somewhere in the back of my mind that all these stories were bringing those kind of messages. So I don't see negative connotation of princess in any of the fairy tales, movies and stuff. I don't even know where did it come from, negative connotation as princess. I guess comparison between being beautiful and looking good and being all tippy-top. So maybe that's why, because that's how princess was described in fairy tales and movies and pictures, and that part was taken out, and transferred and applied to somebody also who is like that, but also mean. So I see that kind of, taking things out of the context, I would say. There is no prince on the white horse. So we all, that's kind of sad side of the story of being so much in fairy tales and believing in them as a child. And then when you grow, get disappointed in the world, depending on what are the circumstances and how you get raised. Because some of them still get to live that life, as they are growing up, and some of them, no, things just get cut. So when you grow up, you eventually realize, there's no prince on a white horse that is going to come and save me. I have to save myself, and I have to be a princess on a white horse and save myself. So, as my mom said once, and I'm never going to forget this, it was one of the moments when I had a hard time a few years ago, and she said, "My dear daughter, when I brought you to this world, when I was in the labor room, there was nobody else that came out but you. And regardless of who is around you, if you find a prince, great. But she was like, guess what? When you die, he's not gonna die with you. You're gonna still die on your own, by yourself, just the same way you came out." And I was like, wow, this is actually realistic. This is true. And you can see also a lot of symbolic in here, but there is also real part. This is very realistic. And I always remember that every single day when I wake up. It's great. I would love to have Prince on a white horse. And, as a matter of fact, I'm going to join him on that horse. But the main point is that I become my own princess on a white horse. It's really important to stay true to myself and to be princess to myself. And that's the part that I am, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately at this age of 35, doesn't matter, I don't care about my age, but that I'm exploring. Will I read my children princess stories if I get children? I think, why not? I probably would or will, but my focus won't be on just princess stories. it's going to be just like my mom did. I would like to expose my children to all stories, not just princess stories, because princess is just small proportion in the whole world of other stories. So yes, it's important to know, about princess story and how you can get the best out of it and be partially princess, but it's also important to know that other stories to, bring to the whole being. She probably should have a name. I'm not gonna say Strongarella. That's just a joke. No. That would probably be something powerful. You just made me think, and you inspired me actually to find definition what princess means to myself. And actually right now, as we are speaking, I think princess has a whole another meaning for me, which is more like superwoman. And a few years ago, I would get birthday cards from my friends who even didn't know each other. Superwoman, and she's flying up to the sky, and she does so many things, and she's smart, and she's educated, she does this, she does that. It says there she's a badass, and all these things like that. And then I realized, wow, I was raised to be humble and not to put my nose in the clouds. And so I didn't even realize, because I lost my self-esteem, through the whole childhood because of my father. So then things started to change. I started to realize, as I detached from my parents and came over here, I started to realize actually what is the perception of other people, how other people actually see me. So when I started realizing that many different people who don't know each other bring me the birthday card that says Superwoman, well, that was first signal to me that I need to go back to my past and, dig down deep and see what is out there. And that's how I came to this point now of princess. Nowadays, princess is strong, princess is smart, princess is educated, princess is self-sufficient, princess is not clingy, princess can do things on her own. I'm not going to go to the extreme, doesn't need anybody's help, because I was like that too, but that's not healthy. So yes, I worked on that so many years just to get to the point, hey, can you help me? It's okay to ask for help as a human being, which I didn't know how to do that. I had to toughen up and have tough skin just to survive with alcoholic father and negative environment. And after that was reflecting my life. I spent a lot of time with addicts. They were my friends. So I am grateful for that. I don't regret it because I saw a whole another world. And actually princess goes through all of that, even addiction. But I see her as a, strong, smart, intelligent, dedicated, go-getter, a woman. I think it does. I think princess has important role for a woman as a human being. Oh,